This is LSAT PrepTest 153, Section 4, Passage 3. This is a comparative or dual passage. The topic is judicial sincerity, whether judges have a duty to actually believe what they write in their opinions. Medium difficulty passage set here. And the reason this is tricky has nothing to do with the subject. It's tricky because both passages are on the same side. They both defend honesty. And so your brain wants to lump them together, but the test, of course, won't let you. Passage A, paragraph 1 is pure setup. Some legal theorists say requiring judges to be sincere is naive. They think judges have too many competing pressures to worry about honesty. You don't need to memorize the reasoning. You've just got to know this camp exists because the rest of the passage is a response to it. Now, paragraph 2 gives the first defense of sincerity. This is the prudential case. Now, prudential just means practical. The argument goes, honesty produces better results. It helps lower courts follow decisions. It makes the judiciary look legitimate. You want to read this paragraph at normal speed, but don't anchor here. The author is about to undercut it. Now, paragraph 3 is the most important paragraph in passage A. This is where the author steps in and says the practical defense has a hole in it. Not that it's wrong, that it's not enough. The problem is it treats honesty like a tool. If honesty stops producing good outcomes, the practical argument gives you no reason to keep being honest. The author says that's backward. Truth-telling is a moral duty. It stands on its own. It doesn't need to prove it's useful. And that word independent is the one to catch. It tells you the author wants to separate the moral case from the practical one entirely. And so passage A structure is, here's the opposition, here's one defense, that defense is incomplete, we need a deeper one grounded in morality. Now passage B. And here's where you've got to slow down, because passage B sounds like it might go in the same direction, but it doesn't. Passage B's opening paragraph says judges need to give real reasons for their decisions, not fake ones, because the whole system of checking judicial power depends on it. If judges can say one thing and believe another, then constitutions and precedents stop mattering. Nobody can hold a judge accountable for reasoning they never actually used. And people will notice. Public cynicism will go up. That's all practical, every single bit of it. Now, the last paragraph of passage B is where most students make their mistake. The author asks a direct question. Does all of this prove candor is an absolute obligation? And the answer is probably not. Read that again. Passage B concedes that its own argument doesn't shut the door on judicial deception entirely. It says sometimes deception might yield a net benefit, and these arguments alone don't fully rebut that. And this is where passage B lands. Any honest cost-benefit analysis has to account for the massive institutional damage dishonesty causes. So the conclusion is a strong presumption in favor of candor. Not an absolute rule, just a presumption. Now, the key move across both passages is this. Passage A says, practical arguments for sincerity are fundamentally incomplete. You've got to have moral principles to finish the job. Passage B builds the strongest practical case it can, admits it has limits, and says that's still good enough. And that is not a small difference. Passage A would look at Passage B's argument and say, you just made the same mistake I warned about in paragraph 3. You're still treating honesty as something that has to justify itself through results. Passage B would shrug and say, the results are strong enough to carry the weight. The passage level pattern here is a split in how far each author is willing to push the same basic position. They agree on the destination, but they disagree about what gets you there. Passage A wants a foundation that can't be eroded by a cost-benefit analysis. Passage B is fine living inside a cost-benefit analysis as long as the costs of dishonesty are weighted heavily. Now, the main trap in the questions will be choices that treat the two passages as being interchangeable, but they're not. Any answer that says that both authors rely on moral principles is wrong. Any answer that says passage B rejects practical reasoning is wrong. And any answer that says they disagree about whether judges should be honest is also wrong. The disagreement here is narrower than that. It's about the type of argument that best supports honesty. You want to watch for a question about what passage A's author would say about passage B's conclusion. The answer will hinge on this. Passage A explicitly criticizes the kind of reasoning passage B relies on. Now, before you go to the questions, check yourself on 3 things. First, can you name the specific flaw passage A finds in the practical defense? 2, what exactly does passage B's author conclude? Not what you assume they conclude, but the actual landing point. And third, if both authors agree judges should be honest, what precisely do they disagree about?